Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I kindly ask you to prepare for our today's work. We have already started this work. In the morning we had a meeting with the representatives from Business 20 and Labor 20. At least part of our colleagues participated in that meeting. The topic of our today's session is the investments in economic growth and job creation. Yesterday we had a fruitful discussion where we focused on the issues of global economy and sustainable development. Today we will be talking about the investments in economic growth and job creation. As I have already mentioned, this topic is the central one in this year G20's agenda. We pay particular attention to it because only through development can we avoid the relapses of the crisis and secure long-term sustainability of the global economy. And we can do that only through development. That is why the G20 countries and the entire world need new sources of growth. At the same time, despite all measures taken, the unemployment rates in G20 countries is higher than pre-crisis levels, though the situations differ by countries. There are issues which are very acute and which are typical for the most G20 members. Youth unemployment remains very high. Another increasingly pressing problem is the structural unemployment. At the same time, the number of qualified specialists without rewarding jobs is growing exponentially. The spread of different forms of informal unemployment affects the positions of employees and the members of their families. Their living conditions deteriorate as well as their social security, while the states see contraction of their tax revenues and pension contributions, which increases budgetary limitations. The employment policy, on the other hand, should not be and cannot be the domain of only authorities responsible for social policies. It is obvious that real changes in labor and employment areas require a systemic approach. The creation of quality jobs should not be conducted separately from development of the economic growth. Our experts shared the opinion that one of the key factors of economic slowdown and stagnation in unemployment has been the significant drop on long-term investment. Overall, we can see the entire set of problems: fragmentations of the European Union banking system, contraction of fiscal space, decrease of lending capacity of development banks, tightening of financial regulations. That is why Russia suggested to aim at our efforts at finding new sources for financing for investment. We are grateful for G20 colleagues, for international organizations, for their broad support in promoting this topic, including by comprehensive analysis of key factors affecting the mobilization of domestic resources, enabling long-term financing. Let me dwell upon the following issues. International organizations with the World Bank drafted a summary report which analyzed the main reasons for reducing investment financing for investment. They also studied the factors, the obstacles to improvement of investment climate. Second, a special study group on financing for investment has been established, and it has already collected information on experience and national practices for incentivizing long-term investments, and a program to conduct studies and prepare recommendations for improving investment climate and incentivizing investment flows has been developed. The G20 experts, together with OECD, developed high-level principles of long-term investment financing by institutional investors. It is of principal importance to us to incentivize such investors, which are represented by insurers and pension funds. They put much effort in investing in our countries, and we should support their works because their activities are aimed at long term, while the resources at their disposal amount to around $90 trillion as of 2012. The G20 plan on developing local currency bond markets has been developed, as well as recommendations on diagnostics, the local currency bond market. Local currency bonds is an important source of financing for long-term domestic investments, first of all in infrastructure. In this regard, we support the institutional and regulatory reforms aimed at creating appropriate conditions for developing such markets. Importantly, the Financial Stability Board should regularly monitor the impact of financial regulatory reforms on the access to long-term financing for investments. We have to consistently move forward in these areas. We expect the World Bank to come up with specific proposals on the concept of a global investment facility. I'm convinced that work in this area will be continued under the Australian presidency next year. Let me also focus on another important topic. Energy issues has been traditionally high on G20 agenda, as well as situation in commodity markets, green growth and climate changes. The reasons are obvious. Economic growth and living standards of the people directly depend on reliable and affordable energy sources and on environmental well-being.